Here we go, boys. How are we, Tank? Jim, are you enjoying? It's a bank holiday where you are, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. How have you been? Well, I was going to say enjoying the festivities there, but that would be the wrong word to use. What have you done with your bank holiday? You been up to much?
basically just sat and watched the Queen. Really, took Frankie to the park, and that was it.
Did you watch it all, Tank? Yeah.
I've watched quite a lot of it. Yeah, I've just watched it getting lowered into the thingy there with a. Yeah, it's been good.
Hold on, it's still on. It's still on.
Still going. Yeah.
Yeah,
Since
they've had like
10 a.m. lad.
They've had the final. That was the third service, wasn't it?
Jeez,
Just literally just finished. That's
Mate,
why I
she's
was a
been
couple of
wheeled
minutes
around
late.
the whole of the UK last week, lad. Fucking hell.
Oh my god! That's why you were late, Tank, because you were watching that.
I was watching it getting lowered into the I think it's like the chambers where Philip and mum and dad are. Yeah.
Yeah. Bloody hell. Now, is it bad that I haven't seen any of it? I just not because obviously I'm in Ireland. It's not a bank holiday here or anything.
No, it's to be fair, you can't not see it over here. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Tank, it was a big week for you last week, I suppose. I don't know what we're allowed to say or on this, so let's tread carefully. Not that we usually do that, but yeah, there was an article that broke in the Athletic. I mean, we've known that stuff's been going on in your personal life for a while. I think a few people have asked you questions, so we're going to be very careful with how we broach this, Tag. But you had some good news anyway, as Jimmy is struggling to control
Jimmy needs to
himself.
wrap his mouth around that mic because he can't hold his own piss.
Yeah,
I've seen that image quite a few times.
Yeah, Jimmy. I bet you have. I bet you have in your dreams, you dirty old man.
Yeah, it's an interesting moment. Yeah, as it went exactly how I thought it would go, but it's dragged on for the past 3 years. Got to be careful what to say because I'm pursuing further. I'm going after them, to be brutally honest with you, like a dog with a bone. He can't be named. He's got anonymity from the court, which is, in my opinion, completely scandalous. I've had numerous journalists calling me saying, why is he getting some sort of treatment? And the thing what's irritating me is he's gone down the route of this mental health card, which I understand it's a big part of today's society. I get it. But what about my mental health? What about what I've been through for the last 3 years by his? And it's blatant lies what he's told. And what's happened is he's gone to the police, made these allegations. The police have followed it up. The police have thought there's a case. The police have then arrested me. Then 3 years later, I'm like 85 grand out of pocket. And then when we've said to him, like, well, I'll tell you what we want this from you, that from you, and that from you. And he's being found out to be betting non-stop. He's told lie after lie after lie. So we said that he's not had a bet for X amount of time, and he would give us one online account of his when we asked for the whole shebang, because obviously he's a degenerate gambler. So when we've asked him and said we need all of this from you, now you lads, you know yourselves, if there's a case, you've got to get both sides. You can't just have everything your side. So he said that. I've done this and I've never come across the fella, spoke to him. I can hand on heart say I've never spoke to this clown in my life. Never, not even walk past him. I just don't know him. I've never come across him. So for me to be dragged in any way is baffling. But then when we've said, well, okay, you can have whatever you want for evidence against us, but we need X, Y, Z from you. But then he just went into a corner and was like, oh, my mental health is not right. And I'm not right here. And I just want to forget this and put it to bed. Like, I was gutted that this case never went to trial. I'll be brutally honest with you. It all sounds great now that it's got a not guilty plea, which is fine, but I'd have got that anyway. But the fact that now we can hide behind his mental health and all this palaver and he thinks he's going to get on with his life. Unfortunately, he's picked on the wrong. When you prod a horrible little scouser like me, mate, we bite and we bite back. And I'll leave no stone unturned to expose him and get every penny what I'm owed, and I'll expose him for what he is and what he's done.
Yeah, I think for us, I'm just delighted because I know it's weighed heavy, and 85 grand is not small change for anyone. So to have that hanging over you and stuff, and so I'm just delighted it's all behind you, mate, and you can focus on. Well, actually, supposedly somebody pointed out to us this week on the Twitter profile, you've been doing newspaper articles to the Sun now, Tank.
Naughty lad.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that you lads, particularly you, Jamie, you know my background. If I ever spoke to the Sun, mate, well, it just wouldn't happen. It's like And I've also, I'm suing them. You say anything today, Jimmy, and you're getting sued, all right? I'm just fucking letting you know right now. Unless you tell me who you support, I'm suing you.
I'll tell you what, Tank's going to be on the next series of Suits here as the main character or something at this stage.
Judge Rinder over here.
It did irritate me, that, I'm being honest, because I knew nothing about this until you said to me, when the thing, what's this? And I'm like, but all of this lad from the Sun, and I've actually sent him a thing on Twitter and said, mate, remove the article. I've never spoke to you. You're using extracts from the Racing Post.
And the podcast, though, like he used what you were talking about, saying you're getting rid of him last week and that lot, and they quoted it word for word. So, I mean, don't be too drastic, Tank. We need all the listeners we can get, mate.
To be fair, I was delighted to see the picture of you on your tractor. Doing Tank's Facts made it to the newspaper. That's a particular highlight, I have to say.
Lying now, lads.
Yeah. I want to start off before we get into the footy, right? So one question came in from Fred Flunk, and he wants to know what's the backstory with us lads. Did we play football together, childhood mates? So, Jimmy, before I come to you to explain our relationship, because I'm sure you'll do that in a very unique way, I was really thinking there, Tank, how did we just got talking through Twitter, didn't we, years ago, and then did some podcasts together, and then just kind of stayed in touch, and then it was me, you, so there's me, you, and Christy, Holly. So if anyone's gone back to some of the older episodes, we used to do the podcast. Christy then obviously got a full-time job in football, so it was tough for him to commit. And then we've got the time difference and whatever. And then Jimmy stepped in. And Jim, do you want to talk about our backstory?
Our relationship, yeah. So, so me and Jay, we went to uni together, but it was very. We played on the footy team together, but it wasn't very close to start with, were we? We were opposite ends of the scale. So as you can see, with Jay, he's a good-looking lad.
Thanks, lad. Didn't know where you were going with this one.
But he was, and he knew it. He knew it. Yeah, and I'm not. And he knew it. So he was.
Oh, you knew it.
He knew it.
Yeah,
he knew it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a.
So we used to at uni on a Wednesday night after you played your sports, you'd all go out afterwards, and obviously we played on the same footy team. But then we'd sort of just go our separate ways. Jay would go stand at the bar looking all pretty and muscly and that, and I'd be in the mix, fucking looking like a dickhead doing penguin dances in the middle of the dance floor. And then
it was for everyone, mate.
just being a knob, as you can imagine. And then I don't know what it was. It was a Wednesday or Thursday where we'd been speaking on Bebo of all things, like on each other's wall. And it was like, do you want to come? And Jay went, do you want to come round for some Pro Evo? I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I do want to come round for some Pro Evo. And then we'll go out. And then that was the start. And then I slowly dragged Jamie down to my level where he wasn't really bothered about standing at the bar and looking all pretty. And he got involved and we'd be doing Anton Deck dances in the middle of the dance floor and penguin dances and all that sort of stuff. And then
he fucked off to Haaland to get away from
that's it, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But no, and then we played footy together at uni and then for clubs as we went along. And then for each club we're at, we continue to drag each other down and we get split up at training because we were just pissing around. And after the match, we'd be in the showers for about 45 minutes just looking at each other's knobs and having a good chat. Like, and then we've been best mates ever since. So he was, he was an usher at my wedding. And we've just grown ever since that.
It's fucking beautiful.
I know,
isn't it? Yeah. To be fair, there could have been about
start, mate.
That it could have went about 17 different ways there, and to be fair, that version I'll go with. I don't have much to add, to be fair, but yeah, it was that one random night over a game of Pro Evo, and then we've just become mates ever since. So there's the backstory. So lads, I want to go into the footy now, and Tank, unfortunately, mate, I'm going to have to start with you. You know where I'm going to go first, Forest.
You've got it. I can't hear you, mate. You broke up.
Oh. Oh, you nearly got me.
Got him.
I was looking at the mute button. I was like, "Oh shit, what's happened there?" Forest, look, I suppose the optimism that surrounded the start of the season, is it fair to say, is probably dwindling a little bit. I mean, what from your side? You've always been upbeat. You're a massive Steve Cooper fan.
Yeah.
What's going wrong, Tank? Because it's worrying times at the moment.
No, it's not worrying times. I think the 2 games, Fulham and Bournemouth, are 2 games where you would have liked to have got a minimum of 3 points out. You can't hide that fact. They're the games what you need to be taking points from. But what I've seen on the social media is about, replacing the manager. I mean, come on, let's get things right here. Right, this time, 12 months ago, Nottingham Forest were bottom of the Championship. If somebody would have come to them Nottingham Forest players and fans at that time and said, don't panic, we're going to change the manager, and this time next year, you're going to be third bottom of the Premier League. Every single Nottingham Forest fan worldwide would have ripped your fucking arm off and probably hit you over the head with your ripped arm off because they'd have thought you were that fucking daft. What Steve Cooper's done is come in as being fucking phenomenal. What he's done, I went to Forest when Houghton was there, and this is not a slant on him at all. The atmosphere around the whole place, the training ground, it was just not right. And then Jack played Forest away with Burnley. When Cooper was there, like probably 4 or 5 months into his tenure, there was just a fucking togetherness and a feel-good factor. And you lads know more that the Premier League is as cutthroat as you can possibly get. There's been a huge upheaval of Forest, a huge upheaval. There's 29 players left, whether it be out of contract, sold, or out on loan. Some of the younger players, and 21 comes in. It takes time to gel. Now, looking back on Forest, personally, it's lapses. It's small spells. They're not playing and getting battered. So that's the thing. What I'm kind of saying. I personally believe Forest will be fine. I do, and you might think I'm mad. Forest will be fine. Forest won't go relegated. I genuinely believe that. What they have to do is these 5 or 10 minutes of lapses where you're like, you can't switch off. The Championship you can switch off because you haven't got the players who can just punish you like that. The Premier League you can't. Whether you're playing Fulham, Bournemouth, who were both Premier League regulars, by the way. Let's not forget about that. They both know the league inside out. They've been there. They've done it. Forest haven't been for 23 years. Steve Cooper needs to find his best defence and stick with it and let them build a relationship up with the goalkeeper. So if it's a back 4 or back 5, he needs to find that and stick with them and say, you need to be the core of this side. They have got quality going forward. They have got a quality midfield. They need to make... They've got to get a team and get it gelled quickly before, because it can become too late. But I don't think it will. But for 5 minutes against Bournemouth, the 2-0 up, the cruise and the battering Bournemouth, and all of a sudden it's 2-2. And you know yourself, once the momentum goes with the opposition, you can't. The fans are getting a bit nervous. You're like, oh, fuck me. And it's happened twice. Me personally, they need to get a little win away from home to come back to the City grounds and get it ball booming and the way it can be.
Is perspective needed, do you think, Jim? Because in reality, finishing a place outside the bottom 3 surely is success for Forest this season.
Oh yeah, definitely. And any fan that has supported Forest over the years will see that. But the issue you've got is the Premier League's in its own bubble, isn't it? And things just get mad. So what people looking at is the money spent, transfers in, and I fully understand that they're needed to do that, which is fine. And then you've got people calling for Cooper's ahead again, which is scandalous. But you don't know what this owner's, because he's trying to build like an empire, isn't he? Like City as well. So he's spending all this money. It's getting to that stage now where you're going, yep, we need to get a win. But as you say, that momentum is hard to stop when you keep losing. So that would be my worry as a Forest fan is, yep, we're looking all right and we're scoring goals, but we're still losing. And we said it before that against Fulham and Bournemouth, minimum you need to be picking up point as a minimum. You're not going to beat your Cities, your Liverpools, your Arsenals. We know, and if you do get a win, that's going to send the fans into a frenzy.
Take Liverpool out of that.
Yeah, I was going to
say, anything could go against them. But it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because when you come in and start, it happened to Fulham a couple of years ago when they came in and spent 150 million. They went straight back down. So I really hope they don't, and I think their saving grace is that there are a lot of teams looking bad, a lot of bad teams down that bottom of the league, so it can still be up for grabs. They need to get a game against a I don't know, a Southampton or I know they beat West Ham, but someone along them lines that aren't looking great, and get that win, and then try and get that ball rolling.
You're not worried, Tank, that the owner could get a little trigger happy?
I am, and the reason why I'm worried about him is he sacked the ex Huddersfield manager, hasn't he, from Olympiacos after 5 games, and you think
he's got it in him.
He has. Look,
mad them Greeks as well, aren't they?
Yeah, he is. He is eccentric in here, and look, he's come in and he's put his money in his pocket. He spent £200 million. But I just hope that he gives, Cooper for me deserves this whole season, whether that be staying in the league or relegation. For what he done for Forest last season, he deserves the whole run of this season for me. And I think if he does, Forest will be okay.
Can I play devil's advocate? And to the Forest fans listening, this is me just for the purposes of the podcast, so don't shoot the messenger. At what point Tank does, and he's done an unbelievable job, at what point does reflecting on what he achieved last season, when does that well run dry? Because it soon has to pivot towards what's happening this season, and you could bring in a manager with Premier League experience who's been in this situation, you know what I mean? It proper pedigree, and that's not a slight towards Steve Cooper in any way, shape or form, but you get that new manager bounce. Maybe you get buy-in from the players. I'm not saying he's lost the dressing room in any way, shape or form, but you know what comes with the new manager coming in. At what point does that conversation, because you've always been supportive and will continue to do so, is it unrealistic to think, though, that if these results continue, he will be given the full season? And at what point does it get dodgy ground?
This is me just with me football hat on. Take me Forest hat off, and just me as a football person now who just loves football and watches it. I think Steve Cooper's biggest problem is Sean Dyche is out of work. And there's affiliation with the club and Ian Warne as his assistant. I think that is the biggest issue, what's going to be hanging over Steve Cooper, because Sean Dyche has got a reputation. Probably he hasn't got the reputation he deserves, you know what I mean? But he's got a reputation where he will go in there and he would stop the rot, and he would organise them, and he'd be very, very, very difficult to beat. You look at that Forest squad there to what he was working with Burnley. That squad's miles ahead of what he was working with at Burnley, and he kept them up in every single season without fail. Finished in Europe one season with, let's get it right, a fucking bang average squad. That's in the back of my head, just as a football person. That's the thinking I'm got. He's that type of manager, Dyche, where if I'm an owner, I'm looking at the club and I'm seeing that it's not quite going to the way you want it. And I've got a manager there who's out of work, there's no compensation, and he knows the league inside out. And one thing, what every Sean Dyche side is organised, difficult to beat. And I think that's Steve Cooper's biggest problem at the minute. I hope it doesn't happen, because I think he deserves it. But
there's a Bournemouth effect as well, isn't there? Where everyone was up in arms when bloody Scott Parker got sacked. It was absolutely, everyone was furious with them. And then look what they've done after, a couple of wins, a draw. They've done well, to be fair to them. Like we were saying that they were going to go the worst Premier League team on record, and they've got rid of Parker, where everyone was going, no, that's a bad decision. It's harsh, and what do you expect from a 9-1? The defeat to Liverpool, and then they've come back and got a couple of wins with the new guy in. So I know that'll be playing in the chairman's mind, I bet, as well.
Yeah. They're a nightmare, Bournemouth. They double bluffed us, didn't he? Really, because we thought Liverpool were back, and we thought they were fourth. And Liverpool are still shit. It's like a double pie. That
you've got no boot room exclusive, Tanks. I know you're good mates with Sean Dyche and Ian Warne. Lips sealed. Okay. I nearly got you.
It's like I can't name that League One manager. I can't name any.
Oh, narrowing it down now, are we?
Oh, Tank.
Well, yeah, he's a League One manager. Don't worry about that, from the Northwest.
Oh, stop. Right, let's go on to something else. Christ almighty. Jack Grealish is always good for an interesting conversation. Jimmy, you've been very vocal about your mate, Jack. you must have been delighted to see. Look, it's been well documented. I think people have been asking questions around his output in terms of goals and assists. I'm very opinionated when it comes to Jack Grealish. So I'll give my 2 pence worth in a minute. But you as a big fan, it's been very outspoken on Jack. Must have been delighted to see him get his goal.
Not delighted as such. Look, he got himself in the right position, and the ball's coming. And I think this is where City have changed their style, because even with Haaland in there, they stopped passing the ball around. They're putting balls in the box and scoring goals. So fair play to him. Did you see his interview afterwards? And he was very honest, going, I know I should be scoring more goals. I know I should be assisting more goals. So he keeps getting these little niggly injuries, that put him out for a couple of weeks, and then he comes back. So look, I think Jack Grealish has got a lot to give for that City team. And I think they play a lot of games, and they play, they'll go strong in all competitions this year. And I think he'll come good. He's just got to let the shackles go, relax a bit, and, be the Jack Grealish that we all know and love for when he was, flying at Villa in England. You forget that at the Euros, there was outcry when Grealish was on the bench. Everyone wanted him, get Grealish on, and start him, and then when he did, he lit up the stadium when he was on. So yeah, really pleased, and I'm still keeping the faith, and I'm hoping he will continue to come good. What I don't want him to do is hit that sort of stop-start games and score one and then go dry for the next 4 or 5, and then maybe get an assist. He needs to build on that and get that connection with Haaland going, and they'll be flying City. They're unstoppable at the minute.
So is this you as a City fan now? Which hat are you wearing, Jim?
This is my
supporting
son,
City this week. Yeah.
When my son watches this, he'll know that I'm supporting him as a City fan.
Okay.
I'm saying neutral.
Tank, So when Jimmy talks there about Jack Grealish, and he talks about Jack Grealish that played for Villa and Jack Grealish that played for England, I don't feel like this is the same Jack Grealish, and I don't think the shackles will come off. In my personal opinion, I'm a huge fan of him at Villa and the way he plays for England. I watch him for City, and he just looks like a player that's playing within a system that isn't afforded the freedom that he has been for England and Villa. Where do you sit on it? And do you think his output will always be dominated by the fact that it was 100 million to sign him?
Look, it's difficult because every player if you go for big money like that, you get judged by the transfer. It's just that's just the way this world is. You can't take anything away from that. But as numbers at Aston Villa, he was never ever £100 million player anyway. I think we've had this on the podcast before. He's never scored more than 8 league goals in his career. Mm. So for me, look, regardless whether it's Jack Grealish or anyone, if I'm paying £100 million for a player, I want big numbers. I want big goals. I want big assists. I want big moments in big games. Jack Grealish, and when he was at the Euros, with England, I mean, we say that he lit the place up, but he didn't really contribute that much.
No, but he got the crowd going, though, didn't he?
Yeah, but that's great, Jimmy. I could run on bollocks. No, I know, but it's going to help. But I'll get the crowd going.
I'm currently imagining Tank naked there, just so you know.
But no, do you know what I mean? It's like is numbers, regardless of who he's played with, they're actually bang average. Real bang average numbers, and I just don't think, no matter whether the shackles. See that's the alarm there. I'm going to have to text because there's new Paw Patrol starts at 5:30 tonight, and I've timed it for Frankie. Sorry, but the fact of the matter is, Jack Grealish numbers, whether the shackles are on or off at Man City, they're not what it should be for a £100 million player. He will never score double figures in his career.
The problem, the way that I see it is, we've questioned Richarlison's fee, we've questioned Jack Grealish's fee, but them teams are buying squad players that are coming in and are good squad players, and it's impacted the squad. So whether we talk about Son, getting dropped, coming off the bench and scoring a hat trick, and that's what squads are able to do. So when
for 100 million, Jimmy, squad player.
I mean, I'm not saying he's not a squad player. My point is, as a Premier League squad, he impacts performances by being there. Now, Liverpool have gone and bought Arthur, and Arthur, however you want to. announce it or pronounce it. It's, that's not a player that's coming in and is making everyone get on their toes. Fees now are ridiculous. No matter who you are, you're going for stupid fees. We're talking 50 million for Anthony Gordon. It's irrelevant, that fee is. What it does do is add competition for places. Now, City could go and buy 2 wingers for 20 or 2-3 for 25, 40, 50 million. But they won't add the quality that we all know Jack Grealish has got, and adds that competition for places and just keeps that that squad driving forward.
I just think for 100 million, you've got to have more than, you've got to be bringing, he's got competition for places. He'll make him play better. Surely for 100 million. And I know what you're saying about the fees, mate. The fees are astronomical at the minute, but come on, 100 million.
I do agree with you, but my point is...
For me, he's got to be winning you games, like fucking big moments in big games. We used to say that about Mane or Salah, they'd win us. There'd be moments in games where you're like, yeah, that's why they're here. And for that fee... Fucking hell.
Well, if you're talking about winning games, there's another lad that's wearing blue at the moment, and I'll be honest, I've been absolutely blown away by him. And this is where Jimmy's going to say something along the lines of, "I told you so." He's going to do this all season, proper smug. Haaland,
you get it right, don't I? This one's not hard, is it?
Well done there, Mystic Meg. Fucking hell, that was a good one.
You two did say that Nunes would get more goals than Haaland.
I don't think we did say that.
Well,
did we say that?
I'll go back.
We didn't say that. We didn't say that.
No, there's no way. I didn't think Nunes would score more goals.
I'll get the soundbite later.
Okay.
I'd just like Nunes to fucking play anyway. But there you go.
Talking of Haaland, Tank.
Yeah.
Is it time that everybody else packs up and goes home? Is he going to be the difference maker? Because I'll be honest, it's mad watching him because. And he's that confident. He's like a proper alpha male. He actually doesn't give a bollocks about anything.
No.
And he came out the other day and said it's his dream. It's his dream to have 3 touches in a match and score 3 goals, basically taking the piss out of people for saying he's not impacting the game. When in reality, he seems to be like a 6 to 10 yard box striker who's always in the right position and just scores. He just scores goals. He's a phenomenal player.
It's ridiculous, isn't he? I mean, I think I messaged you in the group the other day. I've spoke to my mate who's been a Man City season ticket holder, fucking nearly all of his life. Like, his heroes go back to the Paul Dickov days. And he said, you might think I'm fucking mad here. He said, he's bang average. He said, he does absolutely nothing at all. And then at full time, you're like, hey, he's scored a hat-trick there. And look, it's one of them where I think the Crystal Palace game, he had 8 touches and scored fucking 3 goals. Yeah. And I thought he was bang average the other day against Wolves. You're like, but then he's the match winner again. I don't think I've ever seen a player like him who has no impact on games, but has more impact than any player in the world football. If you know what I mean, it's like
I don't think he's meant to have that impact, is he? As that player and the way they play, I don't think they don't want him coming deep getting the ball because they want him in the box. That's all they want him to do. If I know, I'm saying stand there and score goals. Do your job.
But you know what I mean, Jimmy? You get players like that. You get what I'm saying?
That's not what they're playing. If for Liverpool, it'd look awful because that's not how you play. That's why he plays so well when Firmino's playing.
But what I mean is, a player like him who's got the numbers like him, you kind of expect something in a game where you just go, "Oh, that's class." That not apart from a goal, and then he's fucking scored again. You're like, this. He's a phenomenon. Listen, he's a freak. He's a phenomenon, but he's
his numbers are stupid. He's made 100 appearances and 99 appearances, 100 goals.
Yeah, I've seen something the other day. I think he's equaled the amount of Champions League goals that Suarez has now. You know what I mean? And he's only played in it's like 20 games or something. It's funny when you look at him as well because you always kind of knew it was City, and I think that's why they were obviously looking at Harry Kane because he's a brilliant player. But Kane's kind of evolved in how he's more of a playmaker now. He drops in.
Kane wouldn't fit in that.
He wouldn't fit. Whereas you nearly say with City, they score the same goal 100 times over. So it's like just put someone that's dead good at finishing in the exact point that when we do the cutbacks from the byline, he's just going to score. And it literally just seems to be that way, that he's in right place, right time.
Nunes would fit in that City's team, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not convinced by Nunes, are you?
Because that's what he does. He just if you get him in the box and score goals, he scores goals. He's not a linked player.
I think he's right. I think if he was in that City side, he'd have, and I'm not saying he's better than Haaland at all, but what I'm saying is he'd probably have 10 goals. Nunes gets chances. He looks like he's going to score every time he's on the pitch, Nunes, but I think that Liverpool are going to have to completely change. We need to anyway. We need to evolve a bit. And I just think to get the best out of him, we need to change the way we play. But Jimmy's bang on. I think that he would score so many goals with City.
With the Nunes thing, just to finish it off before we move on to the next topic, do you think he seems to me like he's not handling the price tag very well? And I'm a fan of Nunes. I've said this on podcasts before, but he looks nervous, and that in itself, like we said it, body shape, first touch sometimes, and then he'll do something really, really good, and you're just like, he's so raw. It just seems like it's nearly like that Peter Crouch syndrome where he went like 17, 18 games without a goal, and then he scored that mad deflected one that got his first goal. You just need one to go in off his arse. Do you think he's just forcing it a bit, Tank?
I do, but I'd like to see him get a run of games. That's the thing. What's irritating me a little bit. If you're paying big money for someone like that, give them a run of games. Yeah, he needs. I mean, look, he got sent off. I understand that, but I would like to see him get 8 to 10 games where he's just getting used to playing with the players and just see what he's all about. Look, he's 6'4". He's a big unit. He's quick. He's strong. I must be honest. Sometimes I look at him and think he can't even trap a dead rat because he looks poor sometimes. But then I just think he needs time in games, and I think he'll be all right.
Probably doesn't help for him that Salah isn't performing either, is it? He's not getting that service off Salah, and that might be an issue for him where we've seen Salah shoot as opposed to pass, whereas City now are being drilled into pass rather than shoot. Phil Foden early door was trying to shoot and missed, and Haaland was squared, and now they're just squaring the ball and he's there. So it needs to be a change of mindset across the whole of that Liverpool front three where they're looking to shoot as opposed to square it, but that'll come, won't it? It's got to.
Everton. Now, Jimmy, well, you said it was a blue. It's not a blue, Mike.
It's not blue, is it? It looks very blue there. It's definitely blue. I know it looks blue, but it's purple. Unless I'm colourblind, but.
Talking of the Blues, married to Blue yourself, Jim. I'll come to Tank in a minute because he's obviously been very outspoken on our mate Frank. Big win for the Blues. I mean, West Ham have been struggling this season, but I have to say, looking at Everton, I do believe that they look more solid. I thought they've brought in some Premier League proven players, and I think Cody and Tarkowski are starting to make a difference now. They just seem like they have more of a structure with which they can go on and build. They look like they're buying into what Frank Lampard is selling at the moment.
Yeah, and I mentioned it prior to this one where I thought they looked strong, but I heard a stat the other day where Everton are 9 points worse off than they were at this point last season. I was like, oh my God. So, maybe although it looks good, the outcomes aren't getting what they should be getting from how it looks. So yeah, I'm pleased they got that win on they played Sunday, didn't they? Played Sunday. So I'm pleased they got that win. And you know what? We've sat here slagging sort of Mopé off, and it was a decent finish, to be fair to him. And yeah, they they've started to look more solid. And like any team, if you don't concede goals, you're more likely to win games, and you get that or win by 1 or 2. So which sort of is what you were saying about Forest, Tank, and bringing Dyche in. So yeah, I mean, fair play to Frank. He's got them going, and he's got them seemingly in. They're only going to get. I mean, I say they're only going to get better, but when Calvert-Lewin comes in, I think you'll see Mopé play a different role to what he's playing at the minute, and hopefully he starts scoring more goals. So,
has he got you? Is he convincing you yet, Tank, or you're not buying it?
Not at all. No, I mean, everyone's saying how well they're playing. They're doing this, that, and the other. And as Jimmy said, they're 9 points worse off than last season. So they're playing well, but they're not scoring goals, and they've won a game yesterday. I mean, let's get it right. If that game was a draw, you'd be like, yeah, West Ham. I mean, Moyes is he under pressure because he spent a fucking fortune?
Got to be.
He spent about. I'm sure they've spent about 170 million. They signed a centre half, didn't he, for about 50 million? Who done as I know he got injured, but they've signed a big forward. They've signed 50 million for that. He looked poor, by the way, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or was that just me? I thought he looked bang average.
No, they just look like a team devoid of identity. They don't look like there's no zip in anything
No,
that they do. They
laboured.
kind of
Yeah.
they look like a cobbled together side, and it's nearly like with the Steve Cooper syndrome. With the more money, and we said this about Arsenal. With Arteta this season, the more money you spend, the more expectation that comes. Moyes has got himself in a difficult spot now. Particularly, you look at the likes of Declan Rice. He's not going to be hanging around if these results don't improve. So Moyes has got to turn a corner quickly, because that was an Everton side. And look, I'm going to give him some credit. I actually think that they look more like a team now. I don't think they have done in the past. And I think if Everton can get the fans on board, which Lampard clearly has, I think they will be a lot more competitive. I was interested. I thought of you today, Jim. I don't know if you saw it. You've been very outspoken about dancers in dressing rooms. Did you see the Everton players throwing a few
No, I've
shapes
not
after
seen
the
it. Are
win?
they having a good go?
They're having the right go. So
But
Unana,
I don't mind if you're dancing like that. I was thinking about this the other day, because obviously Vinicius
about
Junior has
men
been
dancing.
getting a load of stick, Annie, for dancing and that. I've got no issues with people dancing. The issue I had at the time was if Forest are bottom of the league and they're getting them videos of everyone dancing, that would be my issue. But fair play to I've got no issues with dancing. Get on it, lads. I'll have a dance with you.
Right, Tag, I want to come to you on a slightly different topic now. I want to get your opinion on. So the England squad was announced, right? And there was a couple of, on the surface, mad decisions, right? So I'll call them out and I'll get your opinion, because it seems to me form at club level now just doesn't matter. And maybe it's always been the case. Look, managers have their favourites and they're just getting in the squad based on maybe what they've done for them in the past or whatever. But a couple of noticeable ones that I'll call out to you. Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw. And I'm not picking them with the Liverpool hat on. They're not playing. And when they have played, they've not played well. Calvin Phillips, now I know he's injured, I think he's got a shoulder injury. So I'm not sure if he's been removed from the squad, but he was initially picked. There's 12 defenders in the squad. Yeah. It just, the makeup of that. Firstly, I suppose the first part of the question is, are you surprised by the likes of Maguire getting in? And if so,
Trent.
What type of message does that? Yeah, Trent, to be fair,
Trent shouldn't be anywhere near that squad on form.
So there is, and I agree with you, he's not been at his best, but at least you can see from an offensive standpoint, Trent from a balanced squad.
I'm saying Trent should be in the squad all day long, but if you're going on form, Trent's been awful.
So this is my question, I guess, Tank. Is it not on form? Because Ivan Toney's now come in, he's been banging foot. Like, what is the makeup of these squads?
But it can't be, because Harry Maguire shouldn't be anywhere near the squad at the minute. He's had 18 months of absolutely disaster football on a personal level for him. So he shouldn't be in the squad. Luke Shaw can't get in the side and shouldn't be in the squad. I understand what Jimmy's saying about Trent, but Trent, as bad as he's playing, has such an impact on Liverpool every game still. Every game Trent creates so many chances. Even this season, you have a look at the chances what Liverpool create, they all come from Trent. They all come from him without a shadow of a doubt. So you can, as a manager, you can go, he's not playing great, but his outputs are still, he's still fucking creating chance after chance after chance in games, every single game. So I understand why Trent's in the squad, but you got to look at it and think, Ben White at Arsenal, the top of the league, absolutely flying. And I think he's a good player. I don't think he's anything special, but what must he be thinking? What message is Southgate giving him to say, Harry Maguire's been shit for 18 months. You're flying, you're top of the league, and you're bang, gone, bye. It's just like, it's not the right message to give out.
Is it idealistic though, Jim, to think that this can just be a revolving door of players that play well? Because that you have to build out some type of cohesion. It's not like you're in training every day and you're working in patterns of play and you get used to each other. You nearly have to go back to some type of structure and shape that the players would have been used to.
Yeah, and this is why obviously Maguire's in the squad, because he's been in and around, and Gareth trusts him. So this is the issue you've got, is manager trusts player, where regardless of, Jordan Pickford was awful, well, not awful last year, but he's not been at his best for Everton, and Everton been down at the bottom, and that might not be his fault, because he's, if they're having 19 shots a game, stats say he's going to let 2 or 3 in. So but there was calls for him to be dropped, but he carried on playing with him, and then in the Euros he did fantastically well. So I think this is the reason why sort of Shaw, Maguire, because they've done well for, in Shaw was one of the players of the tournaments at the Euros, and then seemingly since then he's just dropped off a cliff. But he trusts them players and he knows them players, and if they start having bad games for England, I think that's when you start getting drops as well. But I think you're right. I mean, the reason I said Trent is Gareth. Me and Gareth best mates, but Gareth Southgate was Gaz. Gaz dropped Trent because he said he didn't trust him defensively. He needs to work on defensively. So that's my point in when I'm saying Trent. Look, I'd have Trent in the England squad all day long, but when the manager's publicly stated he needs to work on him defensively, and then his defensive performance had been like that, and he obviously looks leggy. That's why I'm questioning that, but. There's some players like James Maddison. He's been I know Leicester have been awful, but he's been their best player by miles, and he's been better than some of the lads that have been included. So it's that's what it comes down to, is who he trusts. But Southgate was the manager where everyone was going, he picks the right players in, he picks players on form, and I think he's lost a bit of that with this squad. I think people have slowly started to turn against him. If he has a bad World Cup, I can see the tides turning against him.
I think he's a bit of a spoofer. Tank.
Oh mate,
he's a
proper he's just
a librarian, boring.
Yeah. He's not. He won't get a Premier. Well, he probably will get a Premier League job after he leaves England, but he'll do awful, and then you'll never hear from him again. He'll go be a director of football somewhere, or do like the Dan Ashworth or whatever. But
it seems to me like I'm looking at a Tank with him, and it's so annoying. It's like giving a Ferrari to someone that doesn't know how to drive, because he's got so much offensive talent, but he's shit scared to use it. And it just, I watch England games, I'm just like, what is this? Like, there's no imagination. It's proper boring. And I'll go as far as saying, what was that World? There was a World Cup squad, they called it the Golden Generation. You look at that team photo that pops up every now and then, you're like, Jesus Christ, they were good. He's had the best squad by a mile since then. And it just, they don't capture your imagination at all.
Well, I put a tweet out when I seen the squad. England balls the shit out of me because, as you say, they don't use what we've got. We have got some seriously technically talented players. He's picked 12 defenders. I mean, come on, what the fuck's that all about? 12, half of his squad is defenders.
Probably.
I know, but come on. We've just said
I'm not saying it's right.
Maddison.
I'm just saying from his point of view, it's 2 games. Is it 2 or 3 games? But you play wing backs, so there's 5 plus the 3 defenders. So he'll probably change it up. But I agree with you. It's wrong to pick
12 defenders is just ridiculous, especially with the talent we've got in the midfield areas and the attacking areas. I mean, come on, it's fucking ridiculous. I think he picked 12 defenders. Was it 5 midfielders and 6 forwards? It's just fucking round the bend. Absolutely, what if one of the midfield? I mean, Calvin Phillips has got injured. So what's
he's not even played? Has he actually played? I've not seen.
That's what I mean. So he's not actually played for City yet. He still gets in his
shirt.
Yeah. Right. I want to finish off on one quick topic, and it's actually filtering into the podcast naturally, which kind of goes to the point that I'm going to try and make. So I've started to listen to a book called Expected Goals by Rory Smith, and I have, fair to say, I see the benefits in stats. They interest me a little bit, but I just can't deal with these lads that are like Captain Excel sheets and they define football by numbers, because you have to trust your eyes. There's certainly things that happen on a football pitch that you cannot put in a spreadsheet, but it's becoming such a prominent part of the game now. And this is what this book by Rory Smith is about the rise of expected goals and data within football. Jim, I'll come to you first. Where do you sit on stats within football? Do you think that it's going to become more and more prevalent? Do you think that there's still a little bit of snobbery towards stats within football, within the football communities? Where are you?
I think people use it sometimes as a stick to beat people with, but I also think it's got its place. I don't know if you've ever seen the film Moneyball with Brad Pitt, and they use stats a lot on that, on bases hit, and hitting bases and getting on base. And football is very similar, mate. It's the numbers are the numbers, and there's people with much better jobs than us and much higher wages than us working this stuff out. So they must trust in the numbers. But from an expected goals point of view, yeah, I get it. One team might have 20 shots and they might all be in the area and the keeper's had an absolute stormer, but they go at the other end and score the winner. But that's football, isn't it? That's why we all love it. That's why it captivates us. Remember that? What was the game? Was it Watford and Birmingham where they had the penno and then they go at the other end and hit the ball? That's that. The stats would say that is probably a shock in the system. So I don't mind stats, but I think they've got to be the right kind. And stats can be manipulated to make anyone look fairly decent or to make anyone look awful.
Or to prove a point, and that's where where I struggle. And Tank, you've been in many a Twitter debate over the years with people that are mad into the laptops.
Computer Kevin.
Computer Kevin. Yeah, Computer Kevin. Because obviously you've come from the old school generation. I assume there wasn't too many numbers knocking around back in your day, or was there? And where do you sit
Roman numbers?
E numbers.
Yeah. No, look. The Moneyball thing, right? I love that film. It's brilliant.
So good.
But let's get it right. There's one stat in baseball what counts basically. There's one thing what you can judge all of the stats on in baseball is you've got one pitch, you're throwing one ball, and you've just got to hit it. Football's much more. There's much more going on than that. That's all you need in baseball. He's throwing it. Can you hit it? How many times can you hit it? And how many times did you miss it? That's the only stat in baseball that counts. That's a fucking fact. Football is so much more.
If we've got any baseball fans listening to this, they're like, what is this lad?
But it is because they're saying, here's the ball. How many times does he hit it? That's it. So, did you hit the ball?
All baseball is throw and catch.
It is. It's a fucking ridiculous game. And it goes on for about 3 days. So, but stats, honestly, and I think stats are brilliant to help. If you can gauge that 1% extra by using them to develop your side or make them better, it's brilliant. But I'll take this to the grave with me. Nothing is better than the naked eye to what you see on a football pitch. That is the biggest stat what you'll ever see. Your eyes will tell you all the stats what you need to know. If a player's shit, he's shit. No matter how many throw-ins he gets or free kicks or blocks, if he's shit, he's shit.
I was waiting for that.
Oh, there you go. That's not a slant at you, Jimmy. It's just an absolute. That's how I see football. If you go, Jamie, and you watch a football game and you've watched the player for all season and you think he's shit, I'd say with your knowledge of football, he's probably shit. But stats might say, well, he does this in the air, he makes this, he creates this, but he's shit. And that's just how I feel about. That's me on it.
Do you know what it is? It's probably because type of player I was back in the day, and I love off the ball stuff, right? So like the best defensive midfielder in the world, for example, could do a lot of it is work off the ball. So stopping attacks before they even happen. For example, it seems really simplistic now, but a defensive midfielder stops the passing lane into the striker's feet. So if Haaland is playing and a defensive midfielder, Casemiro, is sat in front of him and he makes sure that he stops the ball from going into his feet. He might not touch the ball for 25 minutes, but he might have stopped 4 or 5 attacks. But and that's doing a good job as a defensive midfielder, is that you're stopping them from playing through the lines. But that wouldn't be on a spreadsheet. So this is where I just feel like sometimes you could use stats to build out a narrative. For example, that Naby Keita, so people will tell you is Liverpool's best midfielder by a mile and one of the best midfielders in Europe, but he's just not. He's just not. Whereas the underlying metrics will tell you that this guy is the second coming of Jesus. So yeah, I think for me it's stats applied in the right context, but not used to tell all of the story. Only paint some of the picture, I think is where I'm at. Lads, that's us over 45 minutes. Jim, have you got much on for the rest of the week? What's your plan?
What have I got on? Archie's not got training today or tomorrow. Got player reviews. So
player reviews? What's one of them?
Yeah, so he's just signed, hasn't he? Well, he's in the process of signing for Burton, so they do 12-week reviews. And he's got one.
Tell Tank, actually. I don't think you told him. So he's a man in demand, your son, at the moment, isn't he?
Oh. Yeah. So he was offered a contract at Burton a week on Friday. and he was buzzing and he wanted to sign, but he wanted to play a last minute for his Sunday team. He wanted to play last game, so they had a tournament on Friday, and I thought it was a tournament from like a tournament at Wolves, but I thought it was against like local teams. But what it was there was 3 Wolves teams, 3 pitches, 3 Wolves teams, 3 other teams, with us being one of them, and then you play 3 matches against the 3 different Wolves teams. And to be fair, mate, he played really well, scored some goals and battered the Wolves team. And I went out to he was speaking to the gaffer, because I think he was just saying, gaffer was just saying bye. And I went in and someone was speaking to the gaffer, and he came over to me, was like, oh, here he is. He's like, all right. He's like, oh yeah, we're really interested in your son. He said, like, I've noticed him, the other scout noticed him, and the development manager noticed him, so we want him to come down to Wolves and trial down here as well. So I was like, fucking hell. Bus coming through. Like, I'll be honest, before I was fuming, because I was like, no, he's not being picked up. I know lads who are going to like Stoke development and all this sort of stuff. I'm thinking he's miles better than that.
Yeah.
And I was fuming, and then he's got like 3 of them all picked up.
All of a sudden.
He's got like decisions to make now. The guy just texted me today going, "Oh, you free for a chat?" I'm like, "Oh, mate, he doesn't want to come. He's settled now.
Does he not want to go?
Nah, he hates change, mate. He hates change. So he's
stick
like,
what he knows. Then, mate. If he doesn't like change, stick to what he knows.
But he played Doncaster on Sunday, mate, and they don't give fouls in these, because they don't have proper referees. The coaches reffing. They want the kids to become robust, but he became like MMA. It's like people just like head
like playing with me back in the day.
It was horrendous. Like, I can understand letting little things go, like little trips and little, but it was just pure violence. Like, it was prison rules.
Sounds all right. That
it was horrendous, but he again on Sunday did really well. So yeah, he's flying, mate.
Class, what about you, Tank? Much on?
Well, when we got off here, mate,
Paw Patrol.
No, it's finished.
He's on a roll.
It's brilliant, Paw Patrol, mate. I'm off to I'm taking Jack to Burnley. He's going back to Burnley. He was off today. He got the day off, so I'm taking Jack back to Burnley about 6:30.
Lovely, lovely.
Nice.
Yeah, I think from my side, what have we got? I was just going to say, yeah, gutted at the moment. Poor little Josh lost the game yesterday, and he's fucking beating himself up over it. He lost 1-0 against their local rivals. It's a close game, but he said to me this morning, like he created a chance for himself, and he hit it, and the keeper saved it and whatever. But he said to me, Dad, I didn't do my job. I said, what do you mean? He said, I got me one chance. He said, and my team needed me, and I didn't score. And he come in from school today. He's like, Dad, I was thinking about my chance for the first half of the day, but I'm not going to think about it anymore, Dad. I was like, Jesus, you know what I mean? You can just see that he's real gutted, like the poor little son. But yeah, no more funerals and stuff like that today. Surely that's finished now. There's no more.
I hope so, mate. Let the poor woman rest, man.
Yeah. She's not done any walking, mate.
This is what I don't get. Like, people have been queuing up to see this box, right? And I get it. Like, I understand.
Box.
But it's got.
My sister did, Jim?
It's got a flag over it. I know Claire did it. I know, that's what I'm saying. Look, and it's fine if that's what you want to do. That's your prerogative. But my point is, the box had a flag over it. It could be a pile of bricks for all we know. Like, she's probably having a gin and tonic in that somewhere. Like, but. It's not for me.
It's on till 10 o'clock tonight, isn't it?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it is.
There's been some, to be this is my final point, and then I'll shut up. There's been some quality memes and stuff going around. Like, did you see the one? Actually, shouldn't probably say this. The coffin was coming in, and then they had like the BT Sport commentators in the corner. It's fucking brilliant.
I did think that. The missus had it on all day, and I was like, "Are they actually?" She was like, "Commentate here." I was like, "What do you need to hear?" It's people walking in, and what? But there was like commentary on it. I was like,
"Oh, it's gone mad. The world's gone mad." Right, lads. Before we get ourselves into trouble, I feel like we navigated some difficult topics pretty well. Maybe Tank went a little bit off-piste in the middle. Maybe I'll edit that bit out. Don't know. We'll see.
Legally,
Tank, are we all right to put this out before we put it out?
fucking throw it out.
Yeah, right.
And we never mentioned it. Oh,
no, shit, right. Let's just fucking go. Right, everybody that's listened, thank you as always. Please do keep your feedback coming. If you can see our cool little ticker at the bottom of the video, it says, "Don't forget to hit the subscribe." What's that? Shush.
That's Alan.
Right. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're trying to grow the YouTube. So yeah, please. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button or just have a chat with us on social media. We enjoy having the crack during the week. So most importantly, enjoy the rest of the week. We hope you have a good one, and we will be back with you next week on the Boot Room Podcast. All the best.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, boys.